Hey guys, welcome back to AKFPL. This is the Gameweek 29 preview. First, we're going to look at how my team did in Gameweek 28, see what points I scored, who did well for me, and then we'll move on to Gameweek 29 and what my plans are going to be for that game week as well. So Gameweek 28 was a bit of a drab game week for everyone, really. Average points was 43. I scored 50 points, which was enough for the smallest green arrow. So I ended last game week on 3.6k, and on this game week I went up to 3.5k, so just enough to maintain rank. This is how my team did so far. So most people didn't really score that highly because all the popular captaincy options blanked this week. So, the likes of Salah, Fernandes and Kane. So I had one free transfer which I made, which was Bamford to Watkins. So we'll talk about the Villa game now. And I mainly bought in Bamford. So I took Bamford out for Watkins because I thought Watkins had the better fixture for this week. And then there was always going to be a possibility of Villa having a double game week in game week 30. So I thought I'd act ahead, bring Watkins in now. He'd play in game week 29 and then he could get a double in game week 30. But from what we know from the rescheduled April fixtures, it doesn't look like that game's going to be happening in game week 30, the rearranged Villa and Everton game, because Everton are going to be playing on the Monday in game week 30. So there's just not enough time to then have a midweek game after that. And they've got FA Cup ties and all that kind of thing going on. So from what I understand on the Twitter community, it's probably not going to be happening in game week 30. So that was fine anyway, because Watkins did return. But if we just go into the Villa-Newcastle game, so I just don't understand how I didn't come away with more points than what I got. So it was pretty remarkable actually what happened. It was 0-0 for pretty much all of the game. Then towards the end, Villa get a goal. And it was Target who then put a cross into Watkins, which then came off a defender and went into the goal. And then when you look at that goal in real time, you think that's a goal. But then when you slow it down, it does look like Watkins, his header was off target and then went in off the defender. So it counted as an own goal in the end. But just what could have been, if that was an assist for Target and a goal for Watkins, I'm cashing in there. And then Villa lose their clean sheet right at the end. So Newcastle score a goal right at the end just to take away my double Villa clean sheet. And that was a real sucker punch, because that probably would have meant Target and Martinez were in the bonus if Villa kept that clean sheet. So, we're looking at around 10 points lost just from that one goal. So really disappointed with how that game went. I thought that was my strongest fixture for this week because I had 3 Villa players and they were playing Newcastle, who were on really poor run of form. So I really expected more points there. But, that is part and parcel of the game. You sort of accept that. In terms of the rest of the defence, I had my double City defence, so I was really glad to see both Cancelo and Diaz playing. Both kept a clean sheet. Cancelo getting an attack. Well, he got a attacking return. He got an assist with maximum bonus. So that was really good because John Stones also scored, so I really needed Cancelo to get something just to sort of balance that out. Gundogan unfortunately didn't play, so we'll talk more about what I'm going to do with my City players next in the preview section. All my midfielders blanked. Rafinha comes in for Gundogan, but no one there doing well at all. And then up front, I've got Kane, who was my captain. But I knew in that game, as soon as Son went off injured, it was really going to affect Kane. Because when they both play, they're really good. When one of them goes off, Spurs are just a different team completely. I thought I almost got lucky, though, at the end of that game, because Kane was on a free kick right at the end. From distance, and he took it and it hit the post. So again, just a little bit unlucky with that, but don't regret the captaincy choice too much, because like I said, everyone else blanked. Salah, Fernandes, Kevin De Bruyne didn't even play, so quite unlucky for those owners. So it didn't hurt me too much that I went with Kane in the end. Rest of my strike force was Watkins, who got an assist, and Calvert-Lewin, who got a goal. So no major hauls there, but like I said, 50 points was just enough just to keep afloat in the top 4K. So happy to sort of stay there right now. Got a few injury concerns, which I'll talk about next in the Gameweek 29 preview, which we're going to move on to next. So this is how my team shaped up currently for Game Week 29. I've got 2 free transfers and I've got 0.6 million in the bank. So as it stands currently, I've got Martinez in goal. In my defense, I'll have Dallas and Target. So I'm not expecting a Villa clean sheet in this game unless by some miracle they do keep one. Maybe Leeds could get a clean sheet against Fulham. But again, I won't trust Leeds to get clean sheets. It's, generally they don't get many. But you never know, because that could be a cagey affair. I've got Dan Burn, who got injured in the last game. And I actually think out of all the fixtures in the blank Game Week 29, Brian probably have the best chance of getting a clean sheet against Newcastle. And it's quite frustrating for me because I bought in Burn on my wild card because he was literally the cheapest playing Brighton defender I could get. And I just needed him to just play in this one game week. That's all I bought him in for. And for him to get injured and not play in this game week, it's a real pain, because a lot of people are going to have the likes of Dunk and Veltman, and I think actually having a Brighton defender is really good going into this game week. So really frustrated that he got injured in the end. In midfield, I've got Rafinha and Son. Son again came off injured early in the game against Arsenal. Still waiting to hear about an injury update from him, but it doesn't look like he's going to play this week. But then he's got an international break to recover from, so possibly he's back for the following game week instead. So I'll be keeping him anyway. I'm not going to be, replacing him for anyone like Bale or anything. But I think a few people are considering getting in Bale for Son. So pretty easy swap to make. But Bale as well went off early because I still think there's concerns regarding his fitness. So I'm just not sure that's a transfer I want to be making, but I'll talk about more about my transfers in a bit. Up front, I've got Kane and Watkins. So at the moment, I've got 6 players who are fit to play in Game Week 29. It would have been 8 players if I didn't get the injuries to Son and Burn. So my plan was always just going to play 1 free transfer for this week, get to 9 players, and then roll my other transfer into Game Week 30 where I could, sort my team out a bit more. But now it looks like I'm going to have to use 2 free transfers just to get to 8 players. And this is what I'm thinking at the moment. So I'll just take you over to the transfer page. So this is my squad. So my thinking is Man City are rotating their squad like crazy. They're still in all the major competitions. So Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League, and the Domestic Cup as well, the League Cup. So they've also got a blank in Game Week 33. So they're not playing in this game week. So really, after Game Week 29, they've only got Game Week 30, 31, and 32 to play in. So 3 game weeks where they could, again, rotate their squad a lot. So I've got the likes of Cancelo and Gundogan, and I'm thinking of losing them both this week. So, because the question I'm asking is how many games am I expecting them to play between Game Week 30 and 33, given that they're in all these competitions. So when they do play, they obviously do quite well, but it's just, Cancelo especially, he's just missing every other game at the moment, and that's just not good enough for me. Gundogan as well, he's just not he's starting 2 games, having a rest, starting 2 games, having a rest, and I think there are other options there that can cover for them. So just seems a bit crazy, I know, taking out City players given the form that they're in, given how they're the strongest team in the league this year. But I think if I can get the right players in to cover for them, it could work out okay. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of taking Gundogan out and bringing in Lingard from West Ham. So he's been nicely rested because he couldn't play against Man U. Because obviously he's on loan from Man U, so he was ineligible. So Lingard in for Gundogan, and he's been returning really well since he's come in from West Ham. I think he's got generally better fitness levels than Antonio, so I can see him play every single game for 90 minutes as well. He was on penalties in the last game, but he missed it, and I think from what we've heard from both on Twitter and David Moyes himself, it sounds like Declan Rice will go back on penalties, so a bit unfortunate there, but I think he's still a really good asset. He's only 6.1 million. My other transfer is probably going to be Cancelo out for Cresswell. So I'd be making 2 free transfers there. I've got enough money to do them both, and then I'd have my 8 game week players for 29. So Cresswell again, he's the top scoring defender this season. Really good assist potential. He's on corners. I think West Ham in general are looking really good defensively. A bit unlucky to concede against Man U, so own goal there. But generally when Cresswell gets an assist, he also accompanies it with a clean sheet. So he always ends up getting like maximum bonus whenever that happens. So I think he's a really good option for this game week, but also going forward. So, game week 30 against Wolves, that's a good game for him. Newcastle's a good game. And then West Ham end the season quite well as well. So he could be one that I just keep for the rest of the season. So I think it's actually a good investment to make. So the other transfer I was thinking of doing was Calvert-Lewin out for Antonio. And that would be for a -4. And I think for this week, it might be okay. There's always, Antonio does generally score against top teams. But I think going forward, I'm just not sure I'd want to double up on the West Ham attack. I just don't think they're that goal heavy where I'd want Antonio and Lingard. And for game week 30, I'd also want Calvert-Lewin for that game against Crystal Palace. I think that's a really good fixture for him. So I'm just not sold at the moment about making that extra -4 move to get Antonio in. But it was something I'm looking at. So those are probably going to be my likely moves. I'm going to be getting in Cresswell and Lingard for Cancelo and Gundogan. In terms of captaincy for this week, there's not really much to choose from, unfortunately. I've gone with Kane. It just seems like the best default captain option to go to. I think if you're going to be looking at other options, there are people who are thinking about captaining a Brighton defender against Newcastle, so the likes of Dunk. But personally, that's just not my kind of move. You can never rely on a clean sheet. I mean, we were all relying on a Villa clean sheet against Newcastle, but what happened? They scored right at the end. So, I don't see why Newcastle can't score against Brighton, even though that seems quite low, and I think Brighton do have a good chance of keeping a clean sheet there. I think other players you could look at, players like Rafinha, he's looking really good. He's just not getting the returns in the last few games. Fulham as well, on their day, they can be a really good defensive side, so not sure I would 100% trust a Leeds attacker in that game. Bamford is also an injury concern, so, how is that going to affect them going forward? So a bit of uncertainty there with Leeds, but I've gone with Rafinha as my vice-captain because I don't think Son's going to play. But even if he does play, I can't imagine him starting. He might come off the bench, so those are probably the only viable captaincy options you can think of. In terms of the West Ham Arsenal game, that could be a really tight game as well. Aubameyang is probably an option, but then he got put on the bench in the last game because of a disciplinary issue. So not really sure who to go with there in the Arsenal team. Saka, Lacazette, it seems a bit too risky for me. West Ham side, maybe Lingard or Antonio, but you just never know what's going to happen in that game. And I think even the Villa-Spurs game could be quite a tight affair. So if Villa get Grealish back, then that could be a really hard game for Spurs. So it's really hard to call a good captaincy choice for this week. I've gone with Kane. I think if you've got the likes of Bale, and if you're really looking for taking a punt there, maybe him, but I'm just going to stick it safe and just go with Kane. So I'll probably leave it there. Those are my plans at the moment. So I'm going to play my 2 free transfers to get in Cresswell and Lingard, and I'm going to be captaining Kane. So hopefully I'm going to get at least 8 players out for this week, maybe 9 if Son is past fit and maybe he can just play a few minutes. That would be good. I think in terms for this game week, I just want to stay sort of within the top 5k. That would be really good. I'll count that as a win, and from game week 30 I'll be in a good position to sort of push on forwards from there. I think my season ambition now is just to maybe finish in the top 5k, but I really want to push on to get that triple figure finish. If that can happen, that's amazing. So let's see how the rest of the season goes from here. I hope the game week goes well for the rest of you guys. If you're new here, just hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. Leave a comment with what your team plans are for this week, or if you've got any questions that you want me to answer. We've got an international break coming up after this game week, so I'm going to be releasing a different type of video over that week. So we'll be having a video on what I think are the top 10 free essential resources for FPL managers to get a top rank. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all in the next video.